This is Wadu TV, truth and integrity.
Yaba munyina kwa Bamfamda Body TV so. Yebese wo say o first time na wa subscribe, like video no, or comment na afi na wa share. Na finally Musa Dankwa akopie mu ewo aye good evening Ghana eso ama wone Paul Adomochre e dia boy ni pu for the fire no the for so hu say Mahama be you know so na simple kra na is ba me do so be wini okay na Mahama ne Kennedy na ekoye nke be kwesen so ke be din na say o kan ya bisa ne say can afford to aba edema NDC anom to aba edema Mahama. That's the question obisa Musa Dankwa. Musa say Ghana afford to aba de Mahama. As a Mahama no na gidi ni wonu senka NDC for a different candidate buyer or chese na kanu be din e de amom. Now 2028 candidate ben e no ye favorite say obetimi astande NPP dia se Kennedy yiriti ba omiazo wo ho ba Kennedy nso ehye ho. Now NDC mo candidate ben e no betimi astande to na wetimi agye dwane biem da ma NDC in the case say ba omia anase Kennedy ba Musa Dankwa response me biti na I say Paul nso ho o de empathy.
Good evening. Paul. Scandal. So let's start with the beginning. How do you generate the PIN, the so-called 100,000 PIN, 91,000 PIN, that then becomes 88,000? How does it work?
So Paul, first of all, let me say thank you for this opportunity to at least bring some clarity to the major issue that is trending currently, and also to thank your viewers for listening to us and for viewing us. National Service, I just want to give you some background, and I know you did some background. In 2015, there was a scandal, and that scandal brought in Dr. Kwesa White, who was the then chief presidential staffer at the presidency, was reassigned to National Service to be the acting executive director. When he came in, he put in certain steps. The first steps he put in, because before Kwesa White, the payment of National Service personnel's allowance was done on table. Okay, it was done on table. So when Kwesa White came, then he decided that let's now pay National Service personnel by eSwitch. And eSwitch is Bank of Ghana, GIBS. GIBS is Bank of Ghana subsidiary agency. So they will pay, and the eSwitch is biometrically a card that you use to do. You have to take your biometric data for you to have the eSwitch card, so that you'll be able to access money that is put on your card. Then in 2017. We were invited by His Excellency, the President of the Republic, Nana B Mustapha, to serve the good people of this country as the acting executive director and my two deputies. And when we came in, by then we came in February, because I got my appointment in February. But the National Service year starts from September to August. So I came in February. So the 2016-2017 service year have already begun.
Yes.
So my first posting was,
that's where Suleiman Brahma said there was no problem.
Yes, that is not. He didn't even. That wasn't. That wasn't what he said. It wasn't a problem. The next one.
The next one. Yes.
The next one. So the 2016-2017, I didn't do the postings. I just came and met it. So the next one that I did was the 2017-2018. 2017-2018, which he said there is no problem with that. So I won't even go there.
Fair enough.
But let me give you the background.
2018-2019
is the issue. But before I go to the issue, I want to take the public and your viewers and the Ghanaian public to the processes that we go through in deployment of our National Service personnel. First of all, when the time is due for National Service deployment, we have our institutions. And when we have the general institutions, that are the universities, both public and private, we also have the nursing training colleges, we have the teacher training colleges. So the general posting is the universities and the polytechnics. So we write to them that they should bring us their final year class list, so that we'll be able to process them for National Service. So once all these institutions, and before I go, we have 3 cycles of national service, as you said. We have the general national service, we have the teachers national service, and we have the nurses national service. So when we come to the general national service, their period is different. It starts from September to August. Then the nurses start from somewhere April. The first cohort is April, and the second cohort is also September. The teachers, normally we deploy them in December. Then they'll start in the new year. So these are the period that we do the deployments. Then once the data is submitted by the general, for example, in 2017, my first posting will start, normally we'll start earlier before the September. So we'll ask the institutions to bring the data. When the data come, we then process them. But because in 2016, 2017, we observed national service and there were issue of, and because His Excellency also before he appointed us, and because of the previous experience, he gave us a marching order, especially me, because the President himself signed my appointment letter, and he gave me a marching order to ensure that we bring sanity to national service as far as ghost name is concerned. So I was much concerned. So when they bring it, we generate PIN numbers for them. And those days, the PIN
when
numbers.
They bring the list.
When they
so
bring the
University
list.
of Ghana brings 10,000.
Yes.
Then you generate PIN numbers for the 10,000.
10,000. They will come
by their names, index numbers.
It will come with their index numbers and their names. But we use the index numbers to generate the PIN number for them. We use the
so that every PIN number should be unique.
Yes, to the person. But our first deployment, when we did our first deployment in 2017 to 2018, which Suleiman Ibrahim of 4th Estate said there was no issue, we detected a lot of problems. And the problems we detected included impersonations, and some people, for example, if you have completed teacher training college and you are posted to Tamale to go and teach, and maybe you had a diploma from teacher training college, or you had teacher certificate from teacher training college and you're teaching in Tamale, you're already a permanent teacher. So when you get the opportunity to further your studies at a university, for example, University of Ghana, and you finish your university and you are going to, you are supposed to, we ask the university to submit their class list to us. They will include your name into the class list, but because you're a teacher, you will go straight to your teaching because you were posted as a servant, somebody who is already on government payroll. So you go back to your teachings, your study leaves, you go back to the schools that you are teaching. So you might not be interested. Those days, the teachers were not interested in doing national service. But we realized that in our first posting in 2017 to 2018, people were impersonating
the teachers.
The teachers.
Okay.
The teachers, they were
so impersonating. How did you deal with that?
Because we realized there was investigation. Manase Azure did the investigation, and we called in even national security.
But Manase is also 4th Estate.
Yes, at that time, he did the investigation. He even visited my office at that time. Then
you spoke to him?
Yeah, I spoke to him. And I took him through all the process. Then I took him through all the process. Then in 2017, 2018, when we did all this, we identified this impersonation. We called on national security and the BNI. Then the BNI, it was BNI, National Investigative Bureau, NIB, to assist us to come out with a very solid platform, so that we'll be able to deploy this national service without a program. So our next posting was 2018, 2019.
That's where the problem is.
And that's where Suleiman Ibrahim have detected this problem. In 2018, 2019, on 4th May 2018, we issued a press release asking all prospective national service that their PIN numbers have been generated. And this was 100,209 PIN numbers that we generated from all the institutions. Out of that, 85,708 were deployed. As at the time of deployment, those who have gone through the registration, because I was telling you that when we generate the PIN numbers for them, they have to go through the registration process. And because we detected this duplication, we put in some system, a new national service deployment system. And in that deployment system that we put, number one, we put in the central database system. We linked it with our website. And because we linked it to our website, the central base system contained the national ID, the passport of everybody who has passports. ID is on the central database. We also have the driver's license. Those who have driver's license too is on the central database. Those who have SNIT card it was also on the central database. So we then decided that, okay, if we have this data, that we can use it to link up with our national service system, it is easier for us to be able to detect those who are impersonating. Why? Because once you come to register, we have generated a PIN number for you with your index number and your name. Then you come and register. First of all, we'll ask you to put in your index number. Once you put in your index number, you have registered, we'll ask you for your national ID number. And that is the time we introduce the national ID number. And then on this communication, we spell out all the details that you need to make sure that you're able to go through the registration. So the the system will pull your ID on Admochery with your passport picture, your passport with a bio page where your picture is, so that to ask you, can you confirm your details? Then once you confirm, then you go through the registration process. Then you complete your registration.
So you mean if I'm going to register as a national service person and I have a passport, since you introduced this central database, once my name is there, the passport will come up.
Yes.
For me to confirm.
Confirm. And if you don't have passport and you have
any other card that is
it will pop up.
Okay. All
then
right.
what we also detected during that process, people, when you have, as part of the registration process, even when you have your ID has popped up and you have indicated that it is you, Paul Adomochery, then we'll say, okay, upload your photograph so that we can match the photo on the ID vis-a-vis the photo on the photo that you uploaded.
If you do all these things, then or are you suggesting that it's because of these checks that you had the 100,000 to 85?
Yes.
So that 15,000.
Yes. So that 15,000
didn't survive the test.
The test. Most of them did not survive the test.
I get it.
Most of them. So we deployed. Then at the time of.
But Suleiman Brahma seems to say that it's normal.
So
he said there was 90 something,
yes,
8 something. That's quite
normal. But he was missing out because he was using the deployed list as the eligible list. The eligible list are the class list that the university have submitted to us. Then once we generate the PIN, they become eligible. But those who want to travel, but then if you are in the university, if I'm in the university and I want to travel to do my master's, and even the University of Ghana submits my name, I'll be interested to go and do the registration. I'll just go. So those who go through the registration, they are the only people we deploy.
So you have the 100, then you have the 90, which he saw, which Suleiman Brahma talks about.
85,000, which he talked about.
No, 85 is the final one, but he talked about the 90 something and says that the discrepancy between that and 85 is fine. But you are saying you actually started from 100 to come to 90. And you want us to believe that it is because of the central database system that people couldn't survive. Okay, fair enough.
Okay, then in 2018, after we have done this, somewhere in November, government took a decision. And the decision was that as at that time, teacher trainees were not going through national service. It was only nurses and the general national service personnel, and that is the university and the polytechnics and nurses. And the nurses had 2 cohorts or 2 badges. Then the government took a decision that all teacher training graduates should go through a licential exams and pass. Then before government will then get clearance from Ministry of Finance for them to be able to do what? To be employed. But once they are doing their licential exams, they should take advantage to do their national service because it will become a requirement for them to be able to be employed. Then national service, at that time there was even agitation from the teacher training association. So the minister then invited, that was the letter that the minister invited the leadership, invited national service management, and invited teachers council for us to meet and let them know why the reason why they should do national service. And we were successful. So they accepted. And they even after that came to my office, we met, and they issued a press release. We also issued a press release, and it's in public. After that, then we deployed our first cohort of teachers, which was in November that we deployed that. And we made it public.
You told the general public, the one I read?
Yeah, okay. The one you read.
How many people were there, do you know?
There were about 16,000.
16,000, okay.
Yes.
So that was the first teachers.
So the first teachers postings was about 16,000.
Okay.
16,000 that we posted. Then once we posted them, but when Suleiman Ibrahim did, he only took. So at the end of the service year, national service year 2018-2019, we are supposed to go to Parliament.
Yes.
And normally when you are going to Parliament, you have to then take the summation of those who did the national service general posting, and that is the universities and the polytechnics those who did the teacher training college postings, the first cohort, and the nurses training college, the 2 cohort. The summation is what you take
to Parliament.
Parliament will obviously ask. That's why did you release postings for general national service personnel, and they are 85,000, and you are bringing 100 and something.
Absolutely.
Obviously they will ask.
Yeah.
Obviously they will ask. So that is where the challenge of a state had, because these things are in public domain.
So they looked at it as a scandal. That's how they saw it.
They saw it.
A scandal.
They saw it.
Told Ghanaians as a scandal.
They saw it as a scandal, but it wasn't any scandal, because maybe they failed to do further investigation
to see that there are 2 cohorts of nurses and one teacher. So there are 3 groups of people who have been added to the regular national service, and you reported that to Parliament.
Yes.
You gave Parliament the documents.
We gave to Parliament.
So Parliament is not worried.
Yes, and then let me tell you, Paul, there's another thing that my experience, even when you have generated the PIN numbers for the national service personnel, and they have gone through the registration process, and it is time for you to do release those who are successful and validated, gone through all the processes of validation and validated, and you are posting them. There are majority who are still on the system pending.
Oh, you have a column for them pending?
Yes, pending column.
Why are they pending?
They are pending because they've not been able to satisfy the requirement, the controls that we are putting on the system.
No, I was coming to the index number, the duplication of index numbers, wrong index numbers. Suleiman Brahma shows index numbers of Winneba Education University, and he says that the index numbers follow a certain pattern. He showed other institutions, and all those index numbers were found in the national service document.
So that is
he's suggesting to us that these are the basis for the ghost names, I think.
Yeah, so what Suleiman Ibrahim did not tell the public is that we have the system have an entry point and exit point, and then the exit point is at the time of receiving your allowance from GIFs.
First allowance.
Your first allowance. You need to go through the registration process. You need to be verified through all the verification process. Then you have to then go, and after you have been posted, you have to then go to verification, biometric verification at the various regional centers first. Then once you are accepted and you are posted to your user agency then will validate you monthly to confirm that you are post. Then they submit a report to you before you get paid.
So what's the point you're making?
So I'm making a point that the figures Suleiman Ibrahim, the data that he got, are people who might have tried to enter the system, but they were not successful at the exit point of receiving allowances.
Okay, so you are saying that we should ask Suleiman Ibrahim and the 4th estate that these names that they put out, the index numbers, duplication of names, did they check whether they received the first allowance?
That is another thing.
That's the critical point.
That is what I'm saying.
It's at that point that we have a scandal.
A scandal.
But if they didn't receive, that means that the system's checks.
The system checks
prevent them out.
Yeah, prevent that. Even though when you come into the system, you might see it to be in the system. But which category of the system are they? Are they on pending? Are they on hold? Are they successful? Or
so if they are successful, then there's a problem.
Yeah, if they are successful,
so your call on the 4th estate is that give us one of those names that you can trace to show that they received.
And also, even it will be difficult because it's not possible for one person to have the same ID. How are you going to acquire your e-switch card?
What is e-switch? Why do you
need it? The e-switch card is a biometric verified payment system that we use in paying the national service personnel.
So I cannot acquire the e-switch card if I'm using the name Agyapong.
You can acquire it, but it is only unique to you.
So after I have used it, nobody can use it.
After you have used it, nobody can use it.
And after I have used it, I cannot use Agyapong
to go and do because the verification will get you. You'll be emulated. Even though you might try, but you will not be successful.
So you think all these 20, for the 2018 that we are talking about is really much ado about?
So even at GIFs, Bank of Ghana, there are times that we will submit lists to them, and they will tell us that this particular service personnel have already done their national service before.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And they'll send us those data.
And it's part of the verification process. So what do you do to those people?
Those people they will block them from the system from being received.
But why don't you go further to arrest them and prosecute?
Oh, because we don't have the capacity. We normally will report them to the security agencies to deal with them.
Let me come to Nana B.
Thank you very much, Paul. Paul, what 4th estate did was just to play some sensational games. They did a shoddy work. I would never call this investigation. Why do I say so? Look, they showed a video of Mustapha Yusuf, myself. Look, I was never interviewed as to my role, because I was there from 2017 February to September 2018 when I left, because I was elected as national youth organizer then. Now, what can amount to a scandal? Because you are saying that these are ghost names, and then they go ahead to do a certain calculation, and then they put up a figure, 2.2 billion.
Of the scandal.
Meanwhile, you did not tell us that you have actually approached Gibbs.
Which is
confirm
to
whether
confirm.
whether they have paid
Because we are talking about payment.
Yeah, they must have made
All
the
that you
payment of
did,
the 2 billion
yes,
bond.
I listened to him and you've watched it. All that he did was to pick the publication
of
we
the
usually
general-
make, the number, the figure,
The
the general postage.
Yes, the 85.
And he mentioned
and
it.
compare with Parliament.
Yes.
He mentioned.
And then
He said that he himself said that they picked the numbers from the publication
Yes,
that we issued.
Mhm, yes, he says.
Number one, and then he said, and the figure two from the Parliamentary Select Committee
And he identified the
yes,
discrepancy.
of education, and then he just used that.
I don't know why. Do they
Very
suggest that
poor work.
nobody else will see that's a discrepancy? No MP will see it.
Very
no
poor work.
nobody
And you
will
see,
see it.
What is so
And
surprising?
it's been all over.
What is
Very
surprising?
poor work.
I come back to
What
the
is, even
surprise.
what is even surprising is that after they've done all this investigation, and it is revealing that even during my tenure, there are issues that they've identified. I was a public figure. I was a minister for youth and sports.
Yes.
I was a member of parliament.
They never contacted him.
At least you could have written to me. For first thing, have been writing letters to the Ministry of Youth and Sports and will respond. So they could have written to us, and for me to respond to some of the things they've seen during my time
At National Service, yeah, they could have.
But in his reportage, he created the impression that at least they contacted us and we didn't respond.
Yeah, I heard him say that. Maybe he called you and he didn't get you during the
but
campaign.
that-
The heat of the campaign.
He never called. He could have sent a
So
text
you are
message.
concerned about the work that has
That
been
is
done.
it. The work is a very shoddy work. I will not call this. In fact, that is the more reason why Mr. Daniel Domlevo, who is a member of the oral team, said that a lot of the papers presented to them would need serious auditing.
He said there are rumors
Exactly.
and that they will need to be confirmed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? Because national service, the way and manner we conduct our business is quite unique. So you need to do proper investigation. Number one, Mustapha mentioned that at the entry point, anytime we invite students, prospective service personnel, we are invaded by fraudsters, the system. So at the entry point, you will see all manner of information, all. In fact, that is where somebody will even input the name of that Kenyan or the face of that Kenyan. He said it. Because at that point, they can pick anything. Because
So they are
want
trying their luck.
They are trying their luck.
So if they get in, what happens? They get salary.
No,
If they're able to succeed.
no, you cannot succeed because
Or you cannot
by the
succeed.
time you get to the exit
It's for
point,
proof.
yes, by the time you get to the exit point, you would have gone to the region, you would have done your biometric verification, and the system would have pulled you out. So what the Fourth Estate did was only to secure information at the entry point.
That's what you think.
That is it.
Gibbs is the one who pays.
Because the only way you
So
can
they should
tell
be
us is
asking
that.
Gibbs that how much money
In
you
all
pay
the-
for
Okay,
national
so now
service?
you
all
know
their
something?
investigation.
They mentioned somebody called Daniel Muchu. What if they are really doing proper investigation? They should have gone to Gibbs and said that did Daniel Muchu receive payment?
Yes, that's very important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because that is how the system runs. And that is how it is. A lot of people from time immemorial, you have a lot of people invading the system. Why? Because
There's opportunity.
there's it. Opportunity. So you need to always consider the entry point and then the exit point. So when you use information at the entry point and then you label it as a scandal and you put a certain spin, sensational, and at a point he was even making a categorical statement. Because you recall that when he said that, 2017, 2018, there were no problems.
There are no problems, yes.
But the fraud started in
2018, 2019.
exactly.
Yeah.
He was even making categorical statements.
But President Mahama has called for an investigation in the National Service. If there's
So
nothing in
so
there,
ideally,
let me come to you, Minister.
ideally, wouldn't have even come here, would have waited for this investigation to be done, because definitely when they do the investigation, they will find the truth. But because even after he has submitted the report to the oral team, he has petitioned Office of the Special Prosecutor, and also even President have issued an investigation to be done. He decided to go to TV3, and even after that, he could decide to go to TV3 to do it. That's why it is important that in the court of public opinion, we bring clarity to whatever he's putting out.
Let me come to...
there is another issue that I want to bring. There's another issue.
Yes, please.
And I missed it when I was taking you through how we do national service. And that issue is that national service, when we are going to receive the data from the institutions, there are 3 ways that we receive. At the time that I was there, there are 3 ways that we use to receive the information. Number 1, and all the institutions have to follow all the 3 ways. You have to send an email with your class list to National Service Secretariat email address. 2, you have to put the data on the pen drive for National Service. 3, you have to add a hard copy of all the master list to National Service. So this data is something that if they go to National Service and they want to find out the institutions, whether the institutions presented to National Service scheme or not, they will be able to.
Interns here who helps us to do this work. His name is Mr. He's just recently completed National Service. Mr., tell us, what did you do your National Service?
I had my National Service at the Drivers and Vehicle License Authority, regional office, at Greater Accra Regional Office.
Which institution did you come from to National Service?
The University of Ghana, Legon.
So how did you know, how did you get your PIN?
Usually our PINs, we receive our PINs, they are already generated for us. So we get them and we are supposed to check where we've been posted to by, usually there are issues where there are cases of special posting where you get to apply for wherever you want to have your national service. But some of us already have ours posted to us and we're able to check with our national service PIN code.
Okay, so you get information on your phone, or how do you know your PIN? You go there or what?
Usually you receive it through message, your message, SMS,
okay.
Yes.
So when you receive the PIN, then you go to DVLA?
Yes, please.
Then we go there and what happens there?
Usually you don't just go to DVLA. It depends. We have our municipal offices. Me personally, I was at the LADMA, Ladade Kontompo Municipal Assembly. So you take your forms there, and it's being endorsed for you to actually show that you are registered under that municipal assembly. So then you take it to DVLA and it's also endorsed. Then you bring it back to LADMA to show that you've been accepted to have your national service at DVLA or wherever you are assigned to. Then so when you bring it there, your biometrics are captured. And with those biometrics, for my time, every month you are actually supposed to submit an evaluation form. So with that evaluation form, because it's tied to your biometrics, it can't be submitted for you, it can't be done on your behalf. You need to be there yourself. So in instances where you actually don't submit your evaluation form, there were cases where your national service allowance is delayed because apparently it's a critical procedure that has to be done. So if, for say, you actually skip sending your evaluation form in the month of July, when allowances are being disbursed for July, yours actually comes later. So if you do send it in the month of September, you do get all of it, say 3 months or 4 months accumulated in September.
I see, that's interesting. So which year did you do your national service?
It was 2023 to 2024. I began in 2023 November and ended in 2024 October.
So Minister, this will be regular national service?
Yes.
So
That's regular.
Regular. So non-regular is nurses and teachers?
Yes. The non-regular is the nurses and teachers.
TVET, do they do national service?
So they don't.
Ah, okay.
Maybe in the future.
Maybe they should be
Because
added
you know,
soon.
in the Act 426 makes it mandatory for every Ghanaian to go through national service. Other than that, you can't even get a job.
But what you have told us here relates to the time of 2017 to 2021.
2021, and even in and
So
it's run
that
through,
is the principle. That
it's
is how
run
it is.
through all the way to
Yes.
2025. So, for example, in 2024, 2025, we were told that the president has directed that the national, the NIB should investigate. And I'm not going to speak on authority, but what I'm assuming is that what they have paid is only for the general national service persons. But because the national service for teachers have just been deployed, and the current management will have to make provision for that national service personnel, teachers who have been deployed going forward when the new budget is going to be presented. So it's not going to be 91,000 throughout the year. It's going to increase.
Yeah. And this is the increase that we are calling scandal.
Yes, this is the increase that they are calling. So when
but what if we add up? If we add up teachers and nurses in your time, and we still find that there's 1,000 left,
so what normally happens, per my experience, that when we have even generated the PIN numbers, and people have gone through the registration process and they have deployed. Most often, after even the deployment, prospective national service personnel who have not been able to go through the national service registration process will come to the office and say, "Oh, you've done the deployment. I have not been able to get posted." Then we'll check on the system. Why is the person not posted? So in most cases, we can there are some document that they are supposed to upload on the system, and they haven't done that, and they will then do that and be cleared. So, but those postings, when we make them, we don't issue a public. We don't issue.
So, for instance, the 85, not all register at the same time.
No,
some will come and register 2 months later.
Even after we have released the 85,000, even though we generated PIN number for over 100,000, some will come after we have released the posting. That their registration is after we have.
So there's still a group to account for.
Yes.
How do we know that figure?
You get it at the data because the system capture all this.
Okay, so the one that goes to Parliament has included
included that.
I get it.
Included all that.
We have to open the phone lines on this and let people comment on this. It's very, very, very interesting. Okay, viewers. What can I say? Okay.
There's another thing that I want to add. Even when the universities have submitted all the lists to us, then we have generated PIN numbers. You still get some of the universities, some of the institutions coming back with supplementary lists.
After you have issued a press release? After the press release is gone?
After the press release is gone. So if you don't go back on the central database and you just use the press release as your base source document, you'll find more names. Yeah, you'll find more names instead of there is ghost names.
But those names that come to you later, are they also entitled because they're Ghanaians?
Oh, they are Ghanaians.
Yeah, and so they're entitled.
They are entitled.
So you have to post them.
Yeah, and you can get the records from the email the institutions will send, and the pen drive they will send, and also the hard copy they will send during my time.
Yes.
During the current management, my successors management, they even upgraded. During their time, you don't have to even send. They set a code they set up a platform for all the training institutions. So when you are going to send your national service master list, you just upload it on the system. Then you sign off, as Suleiman Ibrahim mentioned. But even when they have done that, and the service deployments have done, some of the institutions will still come back with supplementary.
Yeah. Because Paul, you know why? This is because if you check from the institutions per their internal practices, there are some students who will always supply their information very late. So,
or they are owing, they've not paid their fees, and the institutions will say, okay, because you haven't paid your fees, will not allow you to do the national service.
Exactly.
Then when we release, they'll go and give them pressure, then they'll bring a supplementary list.
So
if you just take the publication.
Officially, they will present their data, but then subsequently they will receive some other information, and then they will label it as supplementary, and then they will bring it, and then we are obliged to also work on them. So that is why I'm saying, Paul, in all of this, in conclusion, look, if you want to plunge the country into such a sensational publication, and then you are saying that you want to label it as ghost names, and then you don't go to the end point. Where is the end point? Where payment is made. And then you only take a certain figure at the time we are making this known to the public. And then you go to Parliament, and the Parliament is what Mustapha has just explained, a summation of the regular national service plus the first cohort of nurses, second cohort of nurses, and then the teacher trainees. So you omitted 3 important elements. That is what, yes, you omitted. And then
But the other thing is, why didn't they put a question to Parliament? I mean, whoever in Parliament, this committee in Parliament received the Committee on Education. Yeah, so the chairman of the Committee on Education, can ask him that, Mr. Chairman, did you notice this discrepancy?
On this 9th Parliament, to go to the Committee of Youth, because National Service now have been put under the Ministry of Youth and
Empowerment.
Yes.
Okay. It's taken from education.
Yes.
Education.
Okay.
So, Paul, that is the point I'm making. So that is why I'm saying that for me, it is a shoddy work. We've been misinformed. If you're talking about ghost names and ghost payment, and then you do your own calculation and you put such a huge figure, and then you throw the entire nation into that mood, at least do a very good job, proper job. Go to that point where payment is made and check whether those people were paid. Because by the time you start at the entry point and that by the time you exit, just like what the young man just explained, you need to go through a lot of biometrics, a lot of verification, a lot of processes. And at the point, at the regional level, the reason why we do so is because they even want to see you physically.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Exactly. So that is why we do it even at the regional basis, at the district basis, at the municipal basis.
Let's wrap up with
Yeah, the other issue I want to add, because of mischief, people will say, okay, we set payment points, so we'll go to controller, and controller, in most cases, you can send a request to controller. Controller, for example, you send a request of 85,000 to controller that is about national service personnel. Because you have deployed them, they are in the various use agencies. Then controller release that particular amount to GIBS. GIBS is not going to pay the 85,000 until they are validated at the various use agencies. So in most cases, when you are even going to pay, you might not even pay the 85,000 service personnel. You might pay maybe 73,000.
Yes.
Then when they come, so the payments will even be less. It is when they then come, they've not received payment.
Yes, this whole conversation is on the payment.
So when you go,
whether there's been
I'm saying this because we are saying payment. People will say, okay, then let's go to controller. Controller say he paid 85,000. So all of them, it means if you compare this figure to
so we say GIBS is the place to
yes, it's GIBS.
That is what payment
they
is
will
made.
do, they verify everything.
Verify.
Controller makes the money available. Okay.
And
so
it goes
controller
to
is not the last stop.
And it will go to National Service account at Bank of Ghana, and GIBS, they will convert it to e-cash, for the e-cash to be put on the gift e-switch system for them to receive.
Kofi Totobi Kwachi sent me a text and said, you see how idiotic you are? Kofi Totobi Kwachi, he sent me a text like that. And I told him that, Honorable Godfather, don't worry, I'm going to apologize to Musa Dankwa. Please tell Mr. Totobi Kwachi that I've apologized if he's not too busy working on national security. Patricia Pierre said that he and Bevlo Lati had been responsible for the violence. He issued a statement that he had it. Good evening, Uncle Kofi Totobi Kwachi, Director of National Security and Godfather, political godfather to President John Dramani Mahama. Good evening, sir. Musa Dankwa is here. We've apologized. It's 13 minutes to the top of the 10 o'clock, and we are good. Yes, Honorable. How did you know President Mahama was going to win? Was it just raw research?
You know, for us it was quite easy.
Easy?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. For 3 years, we knew Bami was going to lose. Whoever MPP elected was going to lose.
Oh, that's interesting. Whoever MPP elected, whether it was Alan Chemati,
was going to lose.
Do you think Alan Chemati would have lost?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
If he was a Ashanti chief, would he have lost?
Yes.
You didn't quite tell us that there would be low voter turnout. Was there low voter turnout?
I did, but you guys didn't listen.
Oh, you said there would be low voter turnout?
Yes.
To the percentage that we saw?
We gave the warnings for Ashanti region, warnings for Eastern region, for Western region, Central region, across the country.
But even in voters, there was lower than 2020.
Yes, across. But
why was there low voter turnout in, say, Volta region?
No, it was because of the people were disillusioned with the political class. They voted NDC in the past. They haven't seen changes in their lives. They've given NDC MPP 8 years. Probably things got worse. Why should they continue to vote?
Oh, so that was a general thing?
Yeah, it was a general thing.
So then President Mahama has a responsibility to save the political class.
Absolutely. If he fails, this democracy will be dead.
That's dangerous.
Absolutely.
Oh, so we've gotten there where the people are beginning to... Rollins used to worry about that. That if we don't do this thing, the people will say that this democracy doesn't work. Are we nearly there?
There was a survey that was done about 2 years ago when the junta took power in Niger. And we did a poll.
In Ghana?
In Ghana here.
Relating to what happened in Niger?
Yes.
What did they say?
Over 55% of Ghanaians back the coup.
You are right, because we all saw what happened at Independence Square.
Yeah.
When Traore mounted the stage
Yeah.
and when he was announced.
Yeah.
People want coup. Do they miss Rawlings?
No, you see, a lot of people didn't see Rawlings.
Yes.
Look at the Ghana's demography in terms of voters, younger voters.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't there when Rawlings
At
was
all,
there,
at
so
all.
they didn't see that.
Most of them were not even there when Akufo-Addo arrived in 2016. If you look at the age thing.
Absolutely. So, what they've seen in other coups,
But they want Niamey and Burkina here.
because you see, there were two types of coups. There were bloody coups and bloodless coups. What we saw in Burkina Faso and Mali were not that kind of coups we knew happens in Africa. So they saw that kind of coup to be, yeah, this one is cool. We can have that kind of.
But don't they see Ghana as a better country than Mali and Burkina Faso?
They haven't been anywhere else.
They haven't seen Burkina Faso and Mali.
No.
So they think it's a Niger, because they have a military guy who gets things done, that Niger is better than Ghana.
Look, when people get frustrated,
Why are they frustrated?
look at what they've gone through in the last few years.
Yeah, when did this start? Because 2017 to 2020 was super. Akufo-Addo, there was nothing anybody could say in 2018, for instance. If the elections of 24 had happened in 18, NPP would have won it.
You see, politicians assume that once he was popular in the past,
He's still popular.
he's still popular.
That's true. That's a dangerous assumption.
It's others.
We've seen them fall from grace to all of them.
Absolutely.
Nkrumah, everybody comes in with a shout and goes away.
The political terrain.
So the
changes quite rapidly.
excuse that international processes had created an economic problem did not wash. Nobody cared.
No, look, people didn't buy into that.
Is it because they didn't buy into it because they heard it, but they also saw that there was corruption?
Let me tell you, I think there was no sense of urgency on the part of the government to show leadership in addressing the issues.
Was the Cecilia Dapa matter major?
It was kind of a bubble that was working to burst. You know, people had their own perceptions, but I think her case
So
kind
people
of,
were already thinking that these people have 1 million in their homes. And then Cecilia Dapa came. They said,
Absolutely.
we said it.
yeah.
Where were they thinking they got the money from? Government money.
Of course, I mean, if you're a government employee, I mean, civil servant, public servant, I mean, where do you get that money from?
It doesn't matter whether in your past life you had been doing some work.
No, it matters, but
But people didn't listen.
look,
Even Akufo-Addo.
she couldn't even explain well. Her story kept changing.
Oh, she didn't even try to explain. I went to see her
okay.
and she gave me information and she was too distraught to talk. She gave me information I came to say. But all of us knew that this Cecilia Dapa matter is an issue. Because you see, in 2016, we did some work. And myself, Gabriel Chedako and others working for Akufo-Addo. And Ameri was put out. Then we got a survey from political science. That Ameri thing you are talking about, nobody cares. People don't even believe that one person can, as we say in Ghana, chop $200 million. They didn't believe it. Then bus branding came. Some of us thought that, but this bus branding is not a big deal. I mean, the documents are there, she branded the bus. Then it was put out. And the frenzy with which it caught fire, because people could relate to the amount of monies in the bus branding, much, much lower than Ameri, but they could relate to it. How can you use this to spray bus? And that worked. So when the Cecilia Dapa thing came, we had to look at it. Is it Ameri or is bus branding? And all of us said this is bus branding. Because people can relate to, she has $1 million in her house. There are 85 of them. $85 million in your homes. Not to talk of vice president and president. You people have $200 million in your home and you tell us that IMF has made prices high. Did these things matter?
You know, the perception was there that corruption was not decreasing. I mean, quarterly polling was showing that corruption was rising, and people were concerned about that. But I think the missing link in terms of the election was that the opposition couldn't link corruption to something to people. There's a missing link between how corruption affects general voters, and that link I don't think was made public very well by the opposition. But people had perception that, look, corruption is there and it's happening. And they've seen people show kind of lifestyle that they didn't show before.
So it wasn't the ATS?
No, it wasn't.
Didn't it play a role?
Look, that also made it much easier for them to be kicked out. But generally, the economy was in a very bad state. People were desperate. Look, people were really hungry.
Yeah.
When you talk to people in the street, it's shocking the kind of things they tell you. So I kind
prices
of
were absolutely high. I mean, everybody was feeling it. This NDC campaign of milk in Mahama time, milk today, did it work? Because it's very straightforward. It's the same milk.
look. You don't even have to go to milk. Even gobe.
Oh, Gobe went up.
Of course, I mean,
Kenke went up, Gobe.
I used to buy gobe for 3 cedis.
And it came to 7.
15 cedis.
That's significant.
Yeah. So if I was feeling it, and
But next time you want Gobe, I'll show you a place where they do it, which is very good. So putting milk 15 cedis and 15 cedis, why didn't civil society enter that conversation and say, wait a minute, nowhere in the world will you take milk of 2016 and it will be better than milk of 2024?
no, this is the thing that you guys or those in politics do. Politics of cost of living. It happens everywhere.
Yeah, it happens everywhere.
Even in the United States, it was politics of cost of living.
It was very much, very, very
That
much.
really did
Yes,
the
yes,
trick
yes.
for. But you see, voters are concerned about their lives today.
Only.
They care about today.
Yeah, it makes sense, yes. But that means politicians are going to be on the unfair side of the equation every now and then.
I don't think you can see unfair.
Oh,
They
if you come in and prices have gone out as a result of something that happened elsewhere,
They are elected. Look. I think those kind of argument simply means that we have not planned for the worst case scenario.
that's also true.
Yeah. So for you to be taken by this international situation so rapidly that you lose control of everything, it means there was no.
But nobody won the international argument. Britain's ruling party lost. It started on Germany. Germany's ruling party was whitewashed. Britain's ruling party lost. France, Macron nearly lost because of their political system. He survived. If they had our system, he would be gone, long gone. America, the Democrats were wiped out when they had come in on a landslide 4 years earlier. So in Nigeria is the only place there was a difference. And in Kenya too, there was a difference. Now that was occasioned by an obvious rift between, in the same party, the same ruling party, the outgoing president and the incoming and the candidate of the party. In Nigeria, there was a major rift. The ruling party won on the account of the new person. In Kenya, same thing. Major rift between the vice president was a candidate. Could that have worked in Ghana if Dr. Bawumia had occasioned a rift between he and Akufo-Addo? Could that have worked?
It could have made it a bit better.
But he'll still lose.
Yeah. No, Paul, things were bad.
Yeah, I know.
Things were very, very, very
If John
bad.
Mahama was not the NDC candidate, will NDC still win?
I don't want to speculate when I don't have sense of data.
But you said if Akufo-Addo, if Bawumia is not the candidate, NPP lose. If Alan is the candidate, NPP lose. Kennedy Agyapong the candidate, NPP lose.
I think it would have been a very close contest if it wasn't Mahama.
So if say it was Joshua Labi, will NDC have won?
It
I
would
know you
have
haven't
close-
done that survey, but
yeah. So I tried not to speculate.
but did the people choose the party or they chose John Mahama?
They chose John Mahama.
They didn't choose NDC.
They chose John Mahama. No, John Mahama they chose.
It doesn't suggest so because in Parliament, NDC
You see,
won it all over the country.
the theory, you see, if you understand what they call the down ballot effect, you understand why Mahama's performance affected some of the NDC to win the seats.
You think it's Mahama's performance
Absolutely.
that affected the NDC party?
Yes.
Not the parliamentarians.
No.
It was the other way around.
No.
Does it even happen in your work that the MP can affect the presidential candidate? It's always the presidential candidate who affects the MP.
It's always the presidential candidate who affects the MP.
Okay,
The
okay.
MPs try to link themselves to the presidential candidate, and sometimes difficult. If they are so bad, doesn't matter how.
I believe you because I've been in campaigns where MPs who are going to win have insisted that the candidate must come there. And I was there when they were pulling John Mahama to Labadi. It was so tight schedule for him. He spent about 15 minutes in Labadi. And the lady insisted that, but she was very popular. Everything showed that she was going to win. But she insisted that President Mahama must come here. So if you know Labadi well,
Yeah, I know.
he couldn't even get inside. It was at Olympia. And he just came in, did his thing quickly, and all they wanted to say is that President Mahama had come. The same thing happened in Teshi, in Nungwa. So he was so tight that he couldn't go to Teshi. But they wanted him over there.
I don't know. Was it in the last election?
This 2024,
I mean, see, a lot of them were.
Mahama did not do, of 275, Mahama did not do every constituency.
You know, if you look at the polling number that we were seeing, I don't think he needed to be in some places that he went.
Yes, I think that's what they calculated. So he
Yeah,
didn't,
so
he didn't,
you
need
have
to,
to
he
use-
didn't go everywhere.
Yeah, you have to use the time wisely and see where you think the margins are going to be very thin, and you go there and bolster them. But where people like places like Laboni, those places
Labani, he needed to come because the lady wanted her. But
It
those
just, but
MPP,
the poll numbers were just lopsided.
the
from
MPP MPs who lost,
Yeah,
did they lose on their own account or is the unpopularity of the MPP?
both. But the biggest reason they lost was because of the party's performance.
Those MPP people in Ashanti and Eastern who did not vote, what was they protesting against?
One, I think they were not happy with Nana.
Nanado in particular.
Yes.
Was it tribal? In Eastern and Ashanti, Ashanti
Look.
especially. Was it tribal?
Look, let me tackle this once and for all.
Yes, please.
You see, in this country, the dynamics or the demography of MPP voters are largely Akan.
Yes.
About 65% of MPP base are Akan. Now, you have an Akan base, but your candidate come from a different group. Right?
That's deep. Eh?
Yeah, that's deep. You will struggle to galvanize the Akans.
Why won't the Akans vote for another tribe candidate?
No, you see,
Are they MPP because they are Akans, or they believe in the MPP's philosophy?
look, there are people who are MPP because they are Akans. Simple as that.
They are
That-
MPP because they are
they are
Akans.
Akans, yes. And if you look at what has happened, I mean,
They feel the MPP is their party.
of course.
Okay, whether in opposition or in government is their party.
Akan for party. I mean, we've been
They've
saying
said
it.
it, they've said
I'm an Achim, I've come from the same place, so I know what we say. So it is seen as Akan base. So when you give the accounts what they feel to be an alien to them, they are not galvanized, enthused by it.
And what is alien to them is determined by tribe.
Of course. You see, the only
Will
thing,
the Akans take a bono?
they're all accounts.
They consider bono as a
Yes.
Kintampo.
Yes, they're all accounts.
So Chebi, Achim Swedro,
They are all accounts.
Western region,
They're all accounts.
parts of Central region.
They're all accounts.
But that means you can do a double account ticket and win if you're MPP.
It's about numbers.
Yeah.
It's, you have to work out where the numbers
So
come
those
from.
MPP people who said that MPP is in trouble because they have moved away from their base, should we have listened to them?
Look, during the polling season, when we're polling, when you put an Akan candidate against Mahama, the gap shrinks.
Oh, that's interesting. Any account candidate.
Any Akan candidate.
Say Kennedy Agyapong.
In fact, Kennedy Agyapong was doing better than Baumia against Mahama.
Who?
And Kennedy Agyapong.
Or was doing better
Yes.
against Muhammad and Baumia.
Yes. And then even when Alan was in the race, the same thing was applied.
Alan
to
was doing better.
Yes.
So if Napo was the candidate number one, would it have made a difference? He comes from Menchia.
It could have been, it would have been worse.
But you are saying Akan,
no, but
or about him in particular.
I mean, look, Napo's personality is different. So Akan, but even Akan didn't want him. He lost
How
massively.
didn't the MPP decision makers know that the Akans may not like Napo? How didn't they know?
I don't know. I don't know. But we came in later, and we.
So
we
if the running mate was different, would it make a difference?
yes,
MPP will still lose, but it will make a difference.
yes,
If Kennedy Agyapong was a running mate, will it make a difference?
absolutely yes.
Could they have made a difference in parliament as well?
Every number counts.
I mean, if Kennedy Agyapong is a candidate, the difference in
Look,
presidential will come.
if-
But will
if-
it
if-
affect parliament?
If he was candidate, I don't think they would lost Asin Central.
Yes, I mean, straightforward, you can say that.
Yeah.
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 At least for that one.
There are areas that he will have influence, and there are people who he would have galvanized to come out and vote.
What about the women? If Baumia had a female running mate, would it have made a difference?
No,
They will still go down.
no. Look,
But you know, people like you make Ghana very modern, and I like that. I mean, in 1996, we won't sit on radio and TV after the election to have a poster. I mean, we had Ben Efson, but his work was not as detailed as we see today. Perhaps he didn't have equipment, he couldn't go everywhere, but this is very, very detailed. Wow. Anyway, so what is the latest? You said Baumia's defeat had nothing to do with Islam. Tell us about that.
okay, let me take it from let's say religion.
Okay.
Religion. Let's look at this from this point. You see, when you put religion among many issues, and you ask voters what is driving your voting intentions, religion and ethnicity will come at the bottom.
Ethnicity and religion.
At the bottom.
But you said the Akans don't want to vote.
No, I'm coming step by step.
Okay, okay.
Right? But when you take religion out and say, will religion or did religion influence your decision? Then it elevated. Why? Because when you have economic crisis, when you are hungry, when you have no job, when you are facing serious challenges in education, nobody will put religion above these three issues.
I get
Right?
it. I get
But
it.
they are very dominant, saying that, look, you will put aside his religion
We have something for you.
and
This is a chat.
Christianity, that it will not supersede these three issues. But the warning is that if these issues are no longer on the plate, will religion still remain at the bottom? The answer is no.
Oh, so even when you've solved the economic problem, it is then that the religion comes up.
Absolutely.
So when they are happy with the economy, they still check.
Absolutely.
Who is that? Who is this guy? Who is this guy?
Absolutely. That is why when you take religion out on its own, or ethnicity, and say, how would it affect your vote? About 20% of voters say it will affect them.
I see. If John Dramani Mahama was a Muslim, would it have made a difference?
For NDC, I would say that they don't rely so much or entirely on one particular religious group, because most Akans are Christians. And that's where the NPP disadvantage comes from. Because your base is an Akan, and Akans are almost 90% Christians, you are caught up in between the biggest religion and the biggest ethnic group. If you look at NDC, it's a fragmentation of group of people. Small here, small there. And the religion doesn't play a big role in NDC. But for NPP, it will, because the base is not fragmented.
I was expecting that polling stations that are dominantly Islam will vote for Muhammadu Bawumia.
No.
I called my reporters at the close of votes in the 9th in Nima. NPP had lost heavier than they did in 2020. But what happened?
Look, I've always said, and people were not listening, I have the privilege of growing up in Zongo, really when I can, and I'm Muslim. So I know the dynamics of the Islam and the Muslim vote very, very well. It goes deep. NDC is not the Muslims that give the NDC the Muslim vote. It is the party. So whoever the party puts there will get the Muslim vote.
Why? Why do Muslims want to vote for the NDC?
It goes back to...
Is it the holiday?
Not
the
the holiday.
Alhaji Mama Idrisu's work in PNDC?
No. It goes back to Nkrumah's time. Nkrumah's overthrow, 1969. The Aliens Compliance Order.
Oh, but that's gone beyond that.
Yes, but you think it's gone.
No, but Aliu Mahama, who would have been part of the Aliens Compliance Order, became vice president under Kufuor.
Absolutely. So if you realize that from Ali Mahama's time all the way to Mahama first, you know, NPP was attracting
Something.
Muslims, yes.
Yeah, it was coming a little bit. Yeah.
And when Akufo-Addo came, Akufo-Addo won, there was an increase in the Muslim.
Yes, because of the Zongo ministry and all of those things.
But 2019, they lost it.
Why?
You know,
What happened in 2019?
in 2019, there was issue about the Muslim students in some mission schools that were not allowed to fast and pray.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Under
and-
free SHS.
Yes, well, education. I mean,
Yeah, general education. Yes.
And there were huge cry.
Oh, they were compelled to eat during the
They
Ramadan.
say health and safety issue. They were not allowed to fast. I mean, we fast.
But were the Muslim community in this 2019 episode that you mentioned, which I've heard, were they also concerned that the vice president couldn't do anything about it?
Absolutely, he
I
was
heard
quiet.
that. I heard that.
He went quiet.
I heard that.
He went quiet, and that really did a big damage to him.
But we all heard that after the election.
No,
Because I was told that-
maybe he wasn't prepared to listen. We were telling him a long time.
No, I was told that issue. And then I had a northern guy called me, a very good friend of mine, who is politically neutral, and told me that he voted for John Mahama. And I said, why? He said, my business. They spoiled my business. And I told your man, I went to his house. I said, Alhaji, he promised me that he would do it. I didn't hear anything. So I told my people to vote for John
No,
Mahama.
look. He
Were
was
the
really-
Muslim community and the Islam community feeling that the vice president did not really stand up enough for their interest?
And also, there were things that he was doing that the Muslims really
Didn't like.
were put off. Yeah.
Like what?
I
Communion.
mean, the church going was really.
They didn't like it.
No.
But he hasn't stopped.
Well, that's why the votes didn't come.
No, but after the vote, he hasn't stopped.
And then if he continues doing that, the vote will still be coming down.
So he should stop.
Absolutely.
He shouldn't show unity in religion.
That's not unity.
Diversity in your religion, shouldn't show it.
I was baptized a Christian.
Yes.
My mother is a Presbyterian.
Yes.
I go to her church, do occasion programs and leave.
You are a Muslim?
Yes.
So you go to the church?
My mother program, I go to a church for program. I donate to a church.
And then you leave?
I leave.
You don't go as far as communion?
No, I mean, why should I do that?
But if you are the vice president and you visit a church,
I
you
will
can't
not-
leave.
No,
You have to speak.
No, look, speaking is not the same as worshiping. You need to be worshiping with them. And look, truth be told, people must tell him why he lost the Muslim vote.
I get the point. I understand
Yeah,
that. He must be told. He must be told.
Maybe people are just too timid to tell him the truth.
Maybe we don't know.
No, we don't know. Maybe he doesn't listen.
We assume that Ghanaians will like
No.
unity.
No, you see,
Unity in
No,
diversity.
that's not unity. Look.
So if I'm running for president
Why-
and I go to Muslim Friday,
why was
Christians
Ali-
will not be angry.
Why was Ali Muhammad not accused of the same thing?
He didn't do that. Ali didn't do that, going to churches. He will donate, but he doesn't. He didn't do that.
That's the role of. I mean, his role was to, show, go to events, take part.
Yeah, he did, but he won't go to church and
Now,
do it.
I mean, look.
But that's because Baumia was baptized a Methodist. That's what he said.
I was baptized a Christian, Presbyterian.
Yes.
So the same thing. I don't know what he does. Maybe I'm not vice president.
So
Maybe I was
going
vice
forward, he should stop.
Look, he should be who he is.
Muslim.
Muslim.
No Christian, nothing.
No, you can go to event. You can take part in event ceremonially, and you get. But taking handkerchiefs, dancing and jumping is not part of your Islamic religion.
He didn't jump, he was just dancing.
Paul, I mean, we don't want to be glossing about this thing. Let
I know,
the
I'm
man
just
know
joking.
him. Because
But it's very interesting.
It really affected him among the Muslim community because they just couldn't.
So Musa, this is what you do full time.
No,
Oh, I see. But when I checked, they said you stopped working at where you used to work. I don't just want to mention the place.
I'm a consultant.
To them, to the same people.
No, to other companies and other organizations.
In that space, IT.
Yeah, not IT. It's a project.
Okay.
I consult for World Bank and other organizations.
Yeah, I was following you. I saw that.
I still work as
Somebody
a
even
consultant.
accused you that you use the World Bank research, then you add then you add questions that are political.
It's not me. It's your friend. It's not me.
Who was doing that?
The one that
Don't mention.
he's your friend, not me.
All right. So the last thing we'll talk about, the polls still show President Mahama rising in popularity.
Very popular.
Let's hear that. Why?
Very, very popular.
Is it because of oral? Why?
No, you see, I think people must begin to figure out how to tap into the feeling of voters,
The optics.
the optics, and their mindset and what they expect. Sometimes you don't need to do much. Just anticipate what they want you to do, and then begin to do that.
President Mahama is great at optics from his time in politics forever. He's been very good on optics. That we can say. So is that what has taken him, brought him back to power? Understanding the Ghanaian and knowing what optics to show.
No,
And you know when
I don't think
when he was
optics-
swearing in the ministers, he warned them that now you're a minister. So what you say is very, very important.
I don't think it's optics that won Muhammad the presidency. I think his message resonated with the people. They didn't see real alternative from the NPP.
So what was his message? To reset. Yes, that was the main and decent
People
message.
were not happy with what was going on.
Yeah, I get it.
And if he said means changing what was going on, they were happy.
They were happy with it, yeah.
Yes.
If you say you want to upgrade, so if
Upgrade means you have to multiply.
To make it worse.
Make it worse.
so if NPP has said reset from Akufo-Addo, would that have been better?
In fact, you see, that would have given people indication that you want to do something different from Akufo-Addo. Because see, Nana was very unpopular.
As a result of the economy and
Yes,
then his
yes,
optics.
yes.
His
And
optics as well.
Absolutely.
The
When he was-
chief's thing.
When he was leaving power, his approval rate was like 35% approval rating. For 3 years, Nana has been 35% approval rating. Very unpopular. So nobody can win an election with that kind of incumbency behind you, who's not popular.
The other thing that we
Baumia
see
needed
that
to
Ghana's-
distance himself.
Yeah,
but
so
he couldn't.
Baumia needed to do a few things to be clear about the religion. Muslim,
Yes.
Christian, Christian.
Yes.
Not both.
No, you can't be hybrid.
Secondly, he needed to do a lot of work with the base of his party because we're going to see him as an outsider of sorts. Third, he needed to clearly distinguish himself from the Akufo-Addo enterprise. However he was going to do it was up to him. So that, but you're saying that Even if he did all these things, it would still have brought the election to a difficult election. It wouldn't have given him the straightforward victory. Is that what the point you're making?
No, because of two key main issues. The economy was really not on. And then two, the demography. The demography is something you cannot change in a short period of time. It takes social revolution for certain group of people to accept certain people to lead them.
To lead them, yeah.
And
Wow.
that is very fundamental, and that's systemic. And when you have a systemic problem, it doesn't matter if you bring the same.
So MPP should not
No,
field Bawumia again.
Look, let me tell you. I want to make that prediction here today.
Yeah.
Look, it will be in the best interest of MPP if Bawumia says, I won't run again on his own, not to be pushed.
He on his own must say that I will not do this again.
No.
Can he come back later if he doesn't do 2028?
He's still young.
An MPP must look for an account candidate or a gun or
Look,
not.
I look at the data.
Yes. What does the data say?
Now, if he does that, then MPP can begin to rebuild the party earlier
Without him.
Because the problem he brings is systemic.
Okay, there's another theory that nobody has won Ghana's presidential elections by coming once. You have to come twice.
No, you see, those kind of trend thing, that's what killed us
I
last
think I
election.
agree with you on that one too, because 2024 changed almost everything.
Absolutely.
Now, what 2020 and 2024 has taught us is that the Ghanaian voter is very matured. Because the victory that was given to NPP in 2016, landslide, 4 years was whittled away. And then, after 4 years, they gave NDC an unprecedented victory that only Rawlings was getting. And we don't trust the Rawlings elections, but fair enough. Rawlings alone was getting those figures. NDC have a huge majority now. Analysts like you say that, oh, don't mind them. 2 million people didn't vote. Add 2 million to Bawumia's 42, NPP wins. They should sit down. If they don't do their work well, in 4 years, that thing will vanish. Because the Ghanaian voter is now showing that he's very, very mature. Because when you look at the 2016 figures, almost all the amateurs like us predicted that with this kind of landslide, it's not recoverable in 4 years. It's recoverable in 8 to something years before our eyes was whittled away. On election night, I was here when it was announced that Akufo-Addo had taken a 1 million lead. This is around 2 a.m. I went downstairs to celebrate. 5 o'clock, I was called that, Charlie, the thing is 500,000 now. And I said, what? It's gone. They said, it's gone. But are we winning? They said, yeah, but we are winning. Parliament, nobody was telling me. 4 hours later, I ran to the center. When I saw the figures, Parliament was, at that time, we were waiting for Martin J. Mensah Kosa. It was Martin J. Mensah Kosa who brought it to 137. So this is just 4 years. Should the NDC look at this and be worried about the governance style, or the victory is big enough to transcend the next election?
I don't want to believe they will make the mistake MPP made.
That one, you have to defer to me. Because I work with politicians. They will make the same mistake.
Okay.
From Winston Churchill, they make the same. They will see it, they will do the same thing.
But let's go this way. MPP has been bruised so much it will require more than 2 election cycles.
No, no, challenge you.
No, you can challenge me. That's why I'm unconventional.
NDC
I am
was,
unconventional.
yes, I get it. NDC was so heavily bruised in 2016. John Mahama is still today punishing some of the people based on the crisis they had post the election.
Look, let's look at where MPP lost in the last election. That's how you see that they have a problem.
Their home base.
Yes.
But it's because they didn't vote.
Who told you?
But that's the other figures show.
Which figures?
The 2020
No,
voters
you
register,
you
the
are,
number of voters,
forget about
percentage
that.
of turnout.
Forget about that. Over 20% of MPP voters didn't vote for Bawumia, but for Mahama. 20%.
So 80% didn't vote. But
No,
20% voted for Mahama.
Okay, the logic is that even if those who were at home didn't vote, if they had come out, the proportion will not change.
But Mahama added only 100,000.
But
From your figures.
But who told you that those who voted for Ronaldo were MPP? So you see, we have to,
No, I get that. But Mahama only added 100,000 over 4 years. MPP lost 1.8, 2 point something
And
million.
I am telling you.
Unless we can trust the 2020
No, no.
figures. But if we can trust the 2020 figures, it shows that John Mahama added 100,000.
There are people who are arguing about the 2020 figures.
Fair enough.
But let's look at it. If we said Mahama added only,
That's what the
100,000,
figures show, yeah.
and the same exit polls shows that 20% of MPP voters went for Mahama.
That's fine. That makes it worse because it means that Mahama's 100,000 had MPP people in it.
And also the 2 million, there were NDC people who didn't vote.
Why? NDC?
You think anybody was happy?
But if NDC is not happy, they'll vote for Mahama.
What was the turnout in voter region?
It was lower than, I don't have the figures.
It's lower.
Yes, lower, yes. But they didn't vote for MPP either. They just didn't vote.
But those who sat at home, they didn't vote. So you see, the apathy, you can't say there's MPP vote. It was general people who...
No, I'm talking about those in Ashanti and Eastern, that part.
It's still, I mean, look, if we have the figures, Ashanti in about 600,000 people didn't vote.
Based on the voters register.
Yeah, one didn't vote. And then if you look at Eastern region, in fact, Eastern region didn't vote, but a lot of them who voted for Mahama.
So, including MPP people, you think?
Yeah. So look, the party was across.
Eastern region, Akufo-Addo's home region.
They nearly lost.
They were also angry with him.
Everybody.
How was the vote in Chebe itself for Kingsley? Did he increase?
I haven't checked. I haven't checked Chebe in particular. But I mean, they're not really unpopular in the Eastern region.
I guess it. That John Mahama will not be on the ballot in 2028. Does it change anything?
No.
I mean, for now, he will not be. We don't know what the constitutional processes will bring. But for now, we know he will not be.
Look, the crystal ball, from what I see, is that NDC will be led by young people.
No, the presidential candidate.
Yes.
Not as Edun Ketia. I said Edun Ketia, we know is the is the undisputed presidential candidate of the party.
He's a massive figure, but he's somebody who loves data. If the numbers doesn't work for him, he won't stick his neck out.
Or you think that he will do his research?
Absolutely.
And if he comes back as a younger person,
absolutely.
So MPP should prepare in a younger person.
Well, they have their own problem.
Which is how to deal with the Baumia factor.
Absolutely.
And that's a big problem.
That's the biggest problem. Because if they don't deal with him very well, the North will gang up against MPP in the future.
So MPP is running into a catch-22 situation.
So, yeah, they have to be very careful.
If you take him this, if you don't take him that.
I think, look, if you ask me, unless he himself says, I'm not going to go, I'm taking a
back seat,
then I think all will be well. But if he contests,
but he will contest.
And if he does contest, I think he will win.
Yeah, he will win. He will contest. I think
if he contests, he's most likely to win.
Yeah,
but with probably narrow margin, worse than the last time.
But he will still be the candidate.
Yeah, I'm saying that. And then we come back with the general election, the same issues.
But he's young. So if he has a Omanebo Ama or some young person, and he's second time on the ballot, people will still reject him.
You have to be able to wipe out your sins that the party has accumulated before 2024, and whether NDC is able to steer the ship in the right direction to 2028. If they're able to stabilize it, I don't think MPP will come to power 2028.
So the only hope for MPP is that NDC runs a bad government.
Yes.
But John Mahama knows that if he runs a bad government, his party will lose election. He doesn't want to go back the way he went back the last time.
So it's up to them.
So it's up to him. It's going to be a big deal. Thank you, Musa Dankwa. Has Parliament.
Parliament is good for.
The OSP was set up by the NPP. Dominic Ayini, the Attorney General of today, had gone to court, actually, to challenge the appointment of Martin Amidu, given that Mr. Amidu was over 60 years old, etc., etc. The NPP rose to the defense of the position. One morning we woke up, Martin Amidu was no more, and Kisi Agyapong was appointed by President Akufo-Addo. Office of a Special Prosecutor. We all remember, those of us of our age, Kenneth Starr, special investigator in the Monica Lewinsky stuff, appointed by the Attorney General, Department of Justice of the United States, to do a special work. Okay. Now, if he's doing a special work, why can't the OSP bring in, issue an arrest warrant or look for Ken Ofori-Atta or declare him wanted? Why doesn't he have the power to do that?
Thank you, Paul. As you can tell, I'm very tired, but
we're sorry.
Me here.
Yeah.
Paul, very respectfully, let me start by saying that corruption
anyone who is fighting corruption should be given all the support in this world.
Yes.
Because oftentimes the resources that get taken are resources that belong to everybody, the born, the unborn, and the dead. And so if somebody, engages in corruption, it is not just about us, the living, it's also about the future generations. So it's such a big thing. And that I want to state categorically on your show that we should throw resources behind any institution of state that is fighting corruption, because it's a bad thing. However, we should be mindful of how the fight is pursued. It should be in accordance with due process of law. And that has always been my position. And so my position is not a personal position against anybody at the OSP.
So in due process of law, what can't the OSP do? As we're talking, the producer will be showing some of the events in Ken Ofori-Attah's house. But tell us, why is there no due process?
The OSP is established by an act of parliament. It cannot do anything which its foundational act or its founding act, right, does not give it the power to do. It cannot do anything unless the founding act expressly says so. Two, I've also heard this argument that it is in our ally, it is in the legislative instrument of the OSP. You cannot have anything in your ally. You cannot have anything in your ally which is not consistent with the parent act.
There's a parent act and there's an ally.
The legislative instrument
that enables the OSP.
Enables the OSP.
Okay.
They can't have any law in there, any power in there, which is not a power given to them by the enabling act.
Don't they have a broad spectrum to operate, given that they are investigating corruption, given that they can investigate the vice president, they can investigate the president, they can even investigate the attorney general, who is technically their boss. So they will have this broad spectrum.
Okay. So, Paul, when you look at the OSP Act, their mandate in terms of investigations and corruption, investigations and prosecution are just three. You can categorize it into three. Investigation and prosecution in breaches of the Public Procurement Act. Investigations and prosecution of offenses which are corruption and corruption-related offenses under Act 30.
Yeah.
And investigation and prosecution of offenses in other acts.
Is the Attorney General's power to investigate broader than the OSP's?
Of course.
Oh, it is?
The OSP's power, right? So I've told you the categories of offenses which they are mandated to investigate.
Something like 3 or 4.
In broad sense, there are 3. The Attorney General has power to investigate and prosecute every offense under Act 30 or any other law for that matter.
And it includes the offenses that the OSP is mandated to prosecute.
Yes, because you see...
So the OSP's mandate is not taken out of the Attorney General's mandate. It's not the duplication then.
Exactly. And this is where the confusion is, is always inherent. The Attorney General's power is a constitutional power. You cannot amend the Constitution by an act of Parliament. The powers of the Attorney General, right, by an act of Parliament, unless it is not an entrenched provision.
So can the Attorney General tell OSP that, leave Ofori-Attah alone, I'll deal with it?
Yes.
He can do that now?
He can do it.
And OSP must comply?
You see, wait.
Must the OSP comply if he does that?
You see, when you look at the OSP's Act, they will tell you that. They will tell you that he doesn't take direction from the Attorney General. That's what they are going to tell you. But Paul, the power to prosecute is a constitutional power which is vested in the Attorney General.
The OSP Act gives him the power to prosecute as well.
Who gave him that power?
The Act.
The Act. Who passed that Act?
Parliament.
Parliament, right?
Yes.
Does Parliament have power, okay, to give the OSP the power to prosecute? The power to prosecute is solely for the Attorney General.
Yes, but in the OSP's Act, the recommendation comes to the president from the Attorney General.
So there is a challenge with the OSP Act. There seems to have been a compromise. The compromise is because it was a law that was initiated by the Attorney General himself.
You know, we have to get into the Oforiatta conversation, but just to say something for you, I know that you have had this conversation with me before. I don't want people to think that because NPP is in opposition, you have held this view when NPP was in power, that this OSP thing is wrong.
Yes.
You have held that view.
Yes,
so I want to put on record that as a journalist, lawyer Bafo had told me, even when NPP was in, you had arguments with Godfrey Dami that have been there, where you've argued with Godfrey Dami that this OSP thing it doesn't work.
No.
Yeah, you did.
You see, when the Attorney General wants to give you his power, delegate his prosecutorial powers to you, there's a procedure by which it is done.
That's he does for the police and all of those people.
Exactly. But
the Attorney General said in his press conference that he's unaware that OSP is doing this, but he's going to call him to give him the list of cases that he's doing. But let's move in. So what did the OSP do wrong by going to Ken Ofori-Atta? He's looking for him. He's had exchange of letters with him.
But we need to agree on one thing. The power of the OSP is not limitless. The power of the OSP, apart from its act, right, is also limited by Act 30, which is the
Criminal Procedure.
Criminal Offences and Procedure Act, Act 30. It is also limited by Article 23 and 2/9 of the 1992 Constitution.
Rights of people.
Yes, he has to act in a manner which is fair. He has to act in a manner which is candid. He has to act in a manner which is not arbitrary.
What he did in going to Ken Ofori-Atta's house, what's the problem? No, I mean, he says he didn't go to Ken Ofori-Atta's house, by the way. So we are explaining what he did by holding a press conference to declare Ken Ofori-Atta a wanted man. The next day he published that he is looking for him. He's a fugitive from justice. What's wrong with that?
I'm going to raise some very important questions for your viewers to make the judgment themselves. From the facts available, which is undisputed, the letter inviting Ken Ofori-Atta to the special prosecutor dated 24th of January was left with Ken Ofori-Atta's security
in his house.
And Ken at the time was not in Ghana. I'm not holding brief for
So
Ken.
he didn't get it?
Ken has his lawyers. I'm not holding brief for him.
So he didn't get it?
So at the time, Ken was already not in Ghana. That notwithstanding, he responded to the letter.
So he got it?
Good. Wait. Can you call such a person a fugitive?
Well, he responded
You
through his lawyers.
invited him whilst he was away from Ghana.
Yes.
The letter was not even delivered to him personally. So he could have feigned ignorance.
No, but we've gone beyond that. He got the letter. Then he responded and said, what? I'm not coming till tomorrow.
No, let's start from there. For that shows cooperation.
Yes, I get that. But if the response, according to what the OSP told the public, is that he's going to be away indefinitely, this is what OSP told the press, that Ken Ofori-Atta cannot decide to be away indefinitely. If OSP is looking for me, I write to him and I said, well, you're looking for me, I'm not coming. I'm coming after the World Cup in 2026.
Subsequently, prior to the press conference, from the facts I have been seized with, I'm seized with, subsequently, the OSP wrote to say that I do not accept that there is no a definite date as to when you are reporting to us.
Yes, correct.
And then Ken's lawyers wrote with evidence from Mayo Hospital. Let me read the letters.
No, what did they say in that letter? Did they say he's coming?
They confirmed that Ken was undergoing medical care.
Yeah.
They also stated that he's likely to be in Ghana after March, and that you are free to invite him after March, and that they are ready for a date.
So they were waiting for a date from the OSP?
From the OSP.
Then what happened?
Instead of giving him a date, he
did a
holds
press conference. Okay, I think the press conference of the OSP, to be fair to him, was also triggered by our publication. We published here on Tuesday night that the OSP had been responsible for the raid on Ken Ofori-Atta's house. And many people believed us because we are kind of credible. So he came in to explain that he had not been responsible for the raid.
If that was what triggered the press conference,
we are guessing.
He should have responded to you.
But he did. He said that he didn't do the raid.
So what
then the journalist asked him that, however, are you doing something with Ken? He said, oh yes, doing something with him.
So if you are doing something with Ken, right, what necessitates the declaration that he's a wanted man?
Because you
facts.
can't find him.
No, but you are in constant communication with the person. A fugitive, you cannot correspond with a fugitive.
That's correct. I think I take that.
You cannot correspond.
Fugitive is Osama bin Laden.
Yes, you cannot correspond with a fugitive.
And Yasser Arafat.
And that is why I made reference to Article 23 of the Constitution. You have to act in a manner which is fair, which is candid, which is not.
When was the
arbitrary.
last time OSP communicated with Oforiatta's lawyers before the press conference?
From the letter, from the processes I've seen, the last time they corresponded before the press conference was 7th of February, right? Was 7th of February.
Yeah.
When
Is that the letter on your screen to your right? Is that this letter? The one on this one? This is your TV, this one.
Yes. No.
Not this one.
I don't have my.
Oh, you don't have your glasses, you
my
can't see.
glasses
You are
with me.
like me. Okay. So this is Mika Premo and associate Bruce Carlin and others, and they are writing to say, Mr. I can't see. Let me get close to the TV. Keep it on like that. They shouldn't see me coming to the TV. Okay, Balfour says direction to attend the office of the special prosecutor. Now this is a letter on 7th February.
Yep.
Which is written from Mika Premo and associates to Kisi Ajabe, the special prosecutor. They say that please find attached here to a document indicating that our client is receiving medical attention at Mayo Clinic. We will be grateful if only something can require. I think they're asking for the date. So this letter of 7th
And
February,
it was based on
asking for Oforiatta for a date. Okay, then another letter comes.
Don't forget.
There's a Mayo Clinic letter as well.
Exactly.
And it says to whom it may concern is Mr. Ken Oforiatta. And they say that, hello, sir, madam. Ken Oforiatta has been seen and evaluated by this hospital. His medical condition necessitates that he will stay and follow up on his appointment undergoing blah, 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 blah. Possible surgical intervention in March. Please contact me if any questions. Okay. I think that the OSP can say that his frustration was that they were not telling him, as Afenyo Markin has now said, that Oforiatta is coming in May.
No. So when you look at this letter from the doctor, it clearly tells you that he's supposed to go, he's supposed to undergo a certain procedure, right, in March. The lawyers are also saying that based on the indication given by the doctors, right, kindly fix a date for him, taking into account the date the doctor has given you. Impliedly, right, he will be available on any day after March.
Yes, but now, a special prosecutor is satisfied now because Alexander Afenyo Markin says Oforiatta is coming to Ghana in May. That's what he was looking for. I'm looking for him. He's in hospital. Okay, no problem. When is he coming? Then you say after March. What is after March?
Papo, assuming that these are even the facts, can you say on the basis of these facts that he's a fugitive?
No, you can't.
Exactly.
No, you can't.
Exactly.
But Oforiatta has now settled this. He said, I'm coming in May.
So it was just a matter of communication, miscommunication.
There are those who are saying, and I've heard it from many people, Ayikwe to and other lawyers, that you don't need to talk to him. File your prosecution papers.
Wait, that is the point I made. Very respectfully, I think that I'm one of the people who made that point.
I remember that.
Yes.
I remember that.
Paul, he's a suspect.
Yes.
He's a suspect. That presupposes that he's part of the investigations that you are undertaking, right? Now, when you need a suspect to conclude your investigations, in other words, when you can only determine whether or not there's a prima facie case against Ken Oforiatta, only after you have spoken to him, then of course there's a problem with your investigations.
Say that again. He said if you're a prosecutor
If
and
you're
you
a
need the
prosecutor
suspect to help you
to
come to the conclusion of your ingredients of offense
in
and to
other
package
words,
your process.
In other words, right, unless you speak to a suspect, you cannot come to the conclusion that there's a prima facie case against him. Then there's a problem with the matter before you.
That's another matter is that whatever Oforiatta will say, will he not refer to documents? As Minister for Finance, he will refer to documents. And he said the documents are available.
The OSP Act gives you the power to go to court and secure an order for any document that you may need.
Okay.
Right? And so if you are doing an investigation, and for the matters that are before that the OSP has mentioned to be the subject of investigations, it involves multiple persons. And so you'll be able to you should be able to carry out your investigations. But that kind of reactor,
How do you know it involves multiple persons?
it involves procurement breaches.
Have they alleged procurement breaches?
But those are the offenses that they are investigating.
You mean those are the offenses that the OSP has power to investigate?
No, let's look at it. Let's look at the letter they sent.
We have to be wrapping up.
Contractual arrangement between Strategic Mobilization Ghana Limited and the Ghana Revenue Authority for stated objective of the enhancement of the revenue assurance
SML.
SML. But SML, it involves it. Who doesn't know about SML in this country?
Yeah, it involves
It
PPA.
involves PPA. It involves
Petroleum sector.
People within the petroleum sector. It involves the SML people themselves.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it's not just
And the Ghana Revenue Authority.
The Ghana Revenue Authority. So it's not limited to Ken Ofori-Atta.
It's not, no.
Termination of distribution loss reduction and associated network improvement project contract between Electricity Company of Ghana and Beijing Charging Technology.
Termination of contract.
Termination.
They're investigating a termination of contract.
Termination of contract.
But why do you need to investigate that? There's a letter terminating. So if the termination is illegal, you can point it out.
Exactly. Procurement of contractors and materials and activities and payment in respect of the National Cathedral project.
But why do you need Ken for that? All the documents are available. You can prosecute.
So the point I'm making is that in any event, when Ken appears before you, the law allows him not to even speak at all.
Okay, but let me ask you, Bafo. You are not the officer of the OSP. Kisi Agyapong is. I'm not the OSP. Kisi Agyapong. Musa Dankwa is not the OSP. Kisi Agyapong is. Why are we telling him how to do his work?
Paul, we don't have to tell him how.
That's what we are doing.
No. Paul, we are looking at it from the perspective of the law. Under the Constitution of Ghana, let me re-emphasize this. A person has a right not to incriminate himself.
Yes.
And therefore, when he appears before any investigative body, he reserves the right not to speak. Not to speak. And so when he appears before, when Ken Ofori-Atta appears before the OSP, he doesn't have to speak.
You made that point in your thing. That's
Good.
very interesting.
Yes.
He can decide, I have come, but I won't talk.
Two.
Go and prosecute
Ken,
me.
You can also prosecute Ken Ofori-Atta even in absentia.
Yes,
Even in
like they did to
absentia.
Kevin Taylor.
Oh, no,
In the
Kevin
civil
Taylor
matters.
It's a civil matter.
Yes.
But all they have to do, right, is to commence proceedings, right? Leave the charge with an adult in Ken Ofori-Atta's house, like they did with his letter.
You mean the baileys from the court who would be serving those processes?
Exactly.
They must leave it in. But Ken Ofori-Atta has identified lawyers,
Yes.
Minka Premo, so they can leave
But
it
what
there.
I'm saying is that he doesn't have to be here.
What then is your gut feeling why they want Ken Ofori-Atta in town?
I think that it is just a show of power.
Whose power?
That is the OSP. That is what he's done all this while.
Okay, it is to show Ofori-Atta that you are no longer in power.
Yes,
I am now.
it's just-
I am still there.
No, you see, it's just the OSP style. That has been his style.
Showing power.
Yes. Paul, I mean, we've seen what he's done all this while.
Has he actually secured anything in the last 3 years he's been there? Has he secured anything?
Well, from the
LaBianca died.
from the reports he's been issuing, we haven't seen anything for 4 years.
He hasn't secured any
No,
conviction.
he has not secured a conviction for 4 years. I mean, I am not criticizing him for that.
No, I'm just asking for
But criminal investigation and prosecution is a very difficult one, and he knows.
Yeah.
And that is why you have to be patient with your approach. You have to be tactical with your approach. You don't have to be aggressive. Those aggressions are seen in movies. In movies, not in real life.
Do you think we should? Are you a member of Parliament, Michelle South? You're an important person. Most likely you'll be on the Committee for Legal and Constitutional Affairs. Do you think we should abandon the office of the Association?
Paul, in my humble view, if we have money to finance the office of the special prosecutor, then that money should go to the Attorney General's office. If I look at the resources, if I look at the resources that we've thrown to the office of the special prosecutor, I'm increasingly coming to the conclusion that we mostly say we don't have money for a lot of things, but when it becomes necessary, we find the money. You see, the office of the Attorney General is one very important
So that
office.
Akufo-Addo was wrong when he mooted the special prosecutor idea.
Well, I think on hindsight, he may agree with me
That he was wrong.
that it wasn't necessary. It was in the system.
Atachia, the member of parliament for Abuakwa South at the time, sitting in cabinet, opposed it.
Yeah.
That the OSP setup was wrong. In fact, on the day that Martin Amidu appeared in the Jubilee House to be sworn in by the president had just walked out of a cabinet meeting, as I'm told. Atachia was in the cabinet meeting and he told them that this thing is wrong.
Oh, let's resource the Attorney General's office. He has very brilliant prosecutors. I mean, we have come up against some of them.
Will that probably generate tension between the Attorney General and the OSP's office? Did we see that in Godfrey Dame's time? Are we beginning to see it again? No. When Dominic says, I don't have the documents, I don't know what he's doing, I'm going to call him.
It was always.
Is it suggesting that there's some tension already brewing?
It depends on who occupies the office.
Of the Attorney General?
No,
or of the OSP?
Of the OSP.
Okay.
Because you see, when you are the OSP's office, right, and you think you are Kenneth Starr, and that you have to stand in front of cameras from CNN and show them that you are some tough talking special prosecutor who is out to get somebody just to make people in Ghana happy, right? That's what's likely to happen. The police has been prosecuting matters on the authority of the Attorney General for years.
And they've been quiet. You don't even get to know them.
IOCO, the Economic and Organized Crime Organization, has been prosecuting matters. Nobody hears anything, right? The office of the special prosecutor is where the problem is coming from. And I think that it has to do with what the occupant wants to do with the office.
Some NDC people said Kisi Agyapong should be removed and Martin Pebu should be made the special prosecutor.
That is their view. That is their view. I have nothing against Kisi Agyapong. I think that his style
must change.
Is what normally creates some of these problems.
Okay, so Foyata is coming in May.
Yeah.
So Kisi will meet him in May. So we have to wait after May to see what happens.
Yes.
Well, so he's been declared, he's pulled out the fugitive from justice thing. He's withdrawn it. So now he knows where he's coming. So we are in what, February? March, April, and then May.
You see.
So he can't do anything about the 5 cases until May?
We must begin to reap the fruits of the 1992 Constitution.
Absolutely.
And this is where I always have a problem. You see, the 1992 Constitution, the struggles that gave birth to the 1992 Constitution, a lot of people are forgetting. You see, Paul, back then, these were things that somebody would announce, report to Gonda Barracks.
Oh, you mean we should move away from the cool mentality?
We have to move away from that.
The braid on Oforiata's house looked like that.
No, we should move away. Do your investigations. If you've gathered enough evidence, right, charge the person, prosecute him. If you are successful, you can do your press conference and show your trophy to the world.
National service should be scrapped and replaced with an alternative by the government in collaboration with private sectors. Let's be honest, the NSS personnel after the service is not assured of a job, so why not link potential personnel to the private sector and allow them to secure an opportunity, be it a job or a contract, with the company as level 100, so that by level 400 they don't have to serve as a personnel because they will be absorbed by the company they are connected to. We need a constitutional amendment to the NSS clause or article. Eric says, this is a simple database query issue. How were paid? Everything he is saying makes no sense. From Prince Pablo, he says, I went through the system in 2017. Enoch Darko says, this guy can't work in J.A. Kufuor's government. His words lack clarity. From Al Jazeera, she says, if Mustapha had turned his invitation down, it would have helped him much better than exposing himself more. Enoch Darko says, this guy's a disaster. Check his track records from the sports ministry. He cannot explain anything properly to Paul. His attention to details is very poor. Lastly, from Mashoud Yakubu, he said, this is nothing convincing. Over to you, Antoinette.
Okay. So we have a few NPP proponents making some comments to Nana B. James Brown says, Paul, please tell Nana B that this purported scandal is part of the missiles that the NDC is deploying to make the NPP unattractive. I refer you to what Musa Danko said about the optics according to the NDC. If we don't rise to distilled these scandals from the public domain, the NPP would have a task ahead of 2024 and even beyond. And I foresee more cooked scandals to cause more disaffection. But within me, Ghanaians will see the deception and lies that has clothed the NDC. Senior Belhaji says that this scandal is dead on arrival. I believe the NDC only wants to score a point because there was an actual NSS scandal during President Mills's era. Nixon Ishan says, Apostle Paul, I told a friend the supposed National Service scandal is dead on arrival after reading the investigation report from the Fourth Estate. How do you conduct an investigation and the players in the scope of the investigation are not interviewed before submitting the form? This is unprofessional and highly unacceptable from Suleimana Brema and his Fourth Estate crew. No wonder Manasi Azuri has resigned from there. Now, Justin Benzema says clearly there isn't any scandal on the NSS, but a deliberate attempt to destroy and tarnish the reputation of people just because of political and other interests. Now, still on the Fourth Estate, Amasaman Bruni Kamal says, I feel the Fourth Estate report is biased because it failed to interview the key stakeholders to hear their views, but rather published it to tarnish the reputation of people for propaganda's sake. No amount of debt from the NDC would dent the image of Nana B. Lord Jack says, God bless Nana B for fighting for the youth of Ghana, whose appointments have been revoked by President Mahama and Julius Debra. Ezekiel Amweni says, as an auditor or investigator, you cannot make conclusions with an entry-level data. You need to find out if they were able to receive the payment at all. Let us learn. Godfrey Salam says, the way I struggle to get into national service in the Western region, even if you do not submit a timesheet, your stipend would be blocked. So why is there a scandal now? Edward Dugbajo says, the investigation team found 250 graduates, about 59 years old, having the same name, Musa Salifu, doing the same course in the University of Development Studies. Why don't we ask them about it? And lastly, Hamdan Chabob says, I suggest that the national service should be a thing of the past. It's high time we stop the national service and find a way out for our fresh graduates after their final year. Can't we have all potential final year students connected to institutions, especially in the private sector in their third year, so by the time they graduate in the fourth year, they will have already secured jobs in the private sectors during their third year. Now,
NDC propaganda, He says that worse things were said about Akufo-Addo, but today he is a former president. So this analysis does not do it for him. Kofi Jemfi also says to tell Musa Dankwa that the fact that the NDC won the election does not mean that anything he says is correct. People were actually tired of the NPP, so they were voted out. When the people are tired of the NDC in the same manner, they would vote them out as well. Nixon Ishan says, I strongly disagree with Musa Dankwa on his take on Bawumia and his friendship with the Christian community. He says a Veep is the second gentleman of the nation and stands a symbol of unity. He cannot go to a church and just leave. Tell him that when Nanado lost in 2008 and 2012, we were made to understand that he was the problem for the NPP, but later he became the president. So this analysis is speaks to him as well. Now, Lily Will says, still on the comments given, that Mahama also goes to the mosque to pray with them. So the NDC went to the Zongos to talk to them as well. Therefore, Musa Dankwa should stop their propaganda. Shadrach Imbelam says that when the NPP lost in 2008 and 2012, many people said all kinds of things about Akufo-Addo then, and that he is the problem of the NPP. But when the time was right and the NDC was now unpopular, NPP had their way. Therefore, in the same vein, when the time is right, NDC will become unpopular and NPP will have their way again. Yao February says, interesting discussions and thoughts from Mr. Musa Dankwa, the researcher of the movement in the Ghanaian politics. And lastly, our Fromba Radio and TV on the earlier interview is asking what the difference is between Cecilia Dapa's money with her background and husband and Okujetu paying $10,000 a month for 8 years. What do you have to say?
All right, from Ifoyabwa, she says, Dr. Baumia will come back and win massively, so please give us a break. From Nanayao, he says, Paul, your honesty to apologize was spot on, and your courage to invite Mr. Dankwa to the studio is commendable. I'm enjoying the program. Awuk says, this election, people used hunger to vote. It is a fact. We pray that this government should not repeat the same mistakes. From Godfather, he said, Nanado is the cause of everything. BC says, the military will probably bring some hope to Ghana. Samuel Fusiban says, even though I love the boldness of the lawyer Bafo's opinion on the creation of the OSP by Nana Addo Dankwa, the officers appointed to run have been highly disappointing to the cause for setting such an investigative agency for the court. From Nana Yausapong, he says, the suspect can decide not to talk. You don't need a suspect to present your case to court. From Enoch, he says, there are many lawyers, but only a few are lawyers. Lawyer Bafo is a gem. He makes the law very practical. From Nana Kofi, he says, you need a suspect to help you finalize your investigation and then make a case against him. What kind of prosecutor are you? From Nana Usu, he says, again, we shouldn't forget that this is not the first time Ken is receiving treatment at Mayo Hospital. Have we forgotten that somewhere in 2021 he was unwell and that Honorable Che Mensa had to read the budget on his behalf? Lastly, from Enoch, he says, after preaching Agenda 111 hospitals to Ghanaians, why didn't the NPP send Ken to any of the hospitals here in Ghana?